this video, I'll be telling you guys the best settings in Rouge Company for controllers and PC.
Oh, is you dead ass right?
Let's get onto the most important setting first, which is finding your best sensitivity. All of us have different sensitivity because it's the most comfortable and effective setting for us. So don't copy other people's settings because it may just do worse than good. But you can use their settings to help you figure out your own settings. Alright, now that you know what to do to fix your settings, what you want to do next is go to shooting range and pick Ronin. Why Ronin? Ronin has two guns that are the most common and effective gun in the game, and she also has replenish so that you don't have to reload every time you knock someone. And once you do that, pick a sensitivity that fits for you, not someone but for you. Their sensitivity can help you figure out your own settings, so if that helps you, feel free, go ahead. And this goes to controllers and PC players, so remember to pick your own settings. And also, this won't be your permanent sensitivity. This is just a stepping stool that will help you find your best settings for you. After reloading the shooting range, you want to go over to the right and there will be two AIs running, and you want to go on the left because it's way much more easier to use. Now go buy an SMG or an assault rifle and upgrade it once, not twice or max it, but once, okay? And buy the perk replenish. Now stand in the middle. I'll show you on the screen right now where you should be standing, and all you have to do is hip fire and try to track the AI. There are gonna be three results that might happen. First is that you are lagging behind and you can't keep up, causing you not to hit your shots. Second is that you're going too fast and you can't control your sensitivity, and once again causing you not to hit your shots. And lastly, you are fairly close to your target and you're hitting most of your shots. You will get one of those results and I will tell you how to fix those. If you got the first one, what you want to do is increase your sensitivity depending on how much you are lagging behind. Let's say you're lagging behind by not a lot. What you want to do is increase your sensitivity by 0.2 or 0.3, maybe 0.4. It all depends on how much you are lagging behind, and vice versa if you're lagging behind by a lot. If you got the second one, it'll be like the first one, but instead you'll decrease your sensitivity depending on how controllable your sensitivity was. Let's say if it was too fast, decrease your sensitivity by 0.7 or 0.8, maybe 0.9, and vice versa if it was just moving a little too fast. So once again, if it's too fast or very slow, increase or decrease it by 0.7 or 0.8, maybe less or more. And if it's only moving a little too fast or a little too slow, increase or decrease it by 0.2 or 0.3, maybe less or more. It all depends on you. If you got the third one, good job, you picked the right sensitivity for you, and it's up to you if you want to increase or decrease it. Once you fixed your settings, test it out again just like what we did at the beginning, and just practice with it and see if you need to increase or decrease it, and do that for the next 5 to 10 minutes. This first part is gonna be just trial and error, test it and fix it. Anyway, let's get into the second part, which is fixing your scope and iron sight sensitivity. Once again, go back to the shooting range and this time pick Phantom. Why Phantom? She has a sniper and assault rifle. Those will be the ones that we'll be testing out. The second part will be fairly the same as the first part, but instead of standing in the middle, you want to stand right where you buy stuff. I'll show it on the screen again so that you won't get confused. Once again, pick a sensitivity for your scope and iron sight that we will use as a stepping stool. Buy both of the guns and upgrade it once. Once again, just once, not twice or max it out, just once. And then buy nimble hand. This will just increase your reload speed, nothing special. Now scope in with one of the guns, for example the sniper, and just follow the character and not shoot at it, and once in a while aim at the one of the AIs on the tower and then go back following the moving AI. This way you can practice your X and Y scope sensitivity. Again, you'll get the same 3 results as the first part, so if you need to watch it again so you know what to do, I'll leave a timestamp on the screen or just rewind it. It's up to you. And again, just practice with your new settings for about 5 to 7 minutes. Do the same thing with the other gun. If you're doing the assault rifle, you can shoot, it's up to you. And again, you will just do the same thing. If you need to see what to do again, I'll leave a timestamp on the screen or just rewind it. It's up to you, and practice with it for about 5 to 7 minutes. The first and second part is just gonna be trial and error. You're just trying to find the best settings for you. This part just takes the longest but has a good result in the very end. Okay, now that you have finished fixing your settings, if you still haven't and are still confused, feel free to rewatch the first and second part. I'll leave a timestamp on where the first part starts and ends. There's also another settings for controller, which is sensitivity boost. This will just give you a boost when turning, so it will be faster. I don't really recommend using this, but if you want to, go ahead. You will have to do the first and second part again, so this might just take more longer. And also there will be gyroscope mode for all platforms. I don't know what it does. I tried it. It just doesn't do anything in my experience. If you want to try it, go ahead. Maybe it will do something for you. But in my experience, it has not done anything to me. So yeah, just turn it off. Now that we're fully done with the sensitivity, we will go on the other options and we will end it with the binds, controller binds specifically. The first is display settings. For you console players, you won't have as much to change because console just don't give you that option, or maybe the new gens does, I just don't know. But anyway, I will just tell you all the options I can change on my PC. Screen mode, full screen. Resolution, the higher the better. For me, it's 1080p. VSync is off. Brightness is 50. If you make it too bright, the game will just look ugly and just look weird. 50 is like the sweet spot. You can try out different brightness and see if any of them are up to your liking. Motion and ADS blur off. This will just decrease your FPS and you don't want that, especially for you console players who want to maximize their FPS. Save frame is 100%. Just don't lower it. There's really no point in lowering it. It'll just make the screen smaller. Colorblind correction, try to note, this will make the game more saturated as you see things more clearly, and this will also make the game more cleaner. Now for the game quality, it will be ultra, low, high, 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 and low. This is probably the best quality settings for PC because the game will look nice and also will give more FPS. I tried out all of them to see if any of them give you advantages. The only ones that will give you advantages are the shadows and foliage. The shadows are on low so that you can see players that are hiding in the corners and the shadow will not cover them, and this goes with foliage, and foliage are for grass and bushes. I have it on low so that the grass will not be on your way when you're shooting. I've tried out all of them and those are the only two that will give you the advantage. You can put the view distance on high, but I have it on ultra so that I can see people and other things in the game from further away. The 4 high settings are only up there because it makes my game looks nice. You can turn it down to get better FPS. It's up to you once again. The second part is audio. You want to make your audio as high as possible so that you can hear people and other things better. But anyway, here are the settings. Master volume and sound effects are 70% to 100%. Just test things out so that they won't be too loud or too quiet for you because all of us have different headset and it will just vary on how loud it really is for you. Music, you can have this on, but I have it off because I listen to music when I'm playing. It's up to you. I listen to music because you know it's better. Voice chat volume 50 to 100%. Once again, just test things out so that they won't be too loud or too quiet. Voice chat is up to you, on and off. Depends if you want to talk to your teammates. I recommend turning it on so that you can communicate and do better in games. Mute mode, put it on voice chat, quips, and communication so that you can mute people who are really annoying with any of those three. Push to talk, on or off. It's up to you if you want it on or not. I recommend having this off for controller players since really limited for your buttons, so just have it off. 3D headphones. Personally, I have it off because when I tried this out, it just doesn't help me at all. It was not worth it for me. But if you're having troubles with hearing people, try this option out and maybe it will help you. Now for the third part, which is the controls, we've already done most of the settings in the control section, but there are still some settings that you might want to change. Hold to crouch, off. Hold to sprint, off. Auto sprint, on. Make things way much more easier. Auto swap shoulder. Personally, I have it off because after testing this out, it really wasn't working for me, so there was really no point, so I left it off. ADS modes, both or hold. I say both because there are some times where you just need to aim downside a corner and you don't want to hold the trigger, and this could help you, but of course you can still hold instead of toggle. That's why it's on both. Dead zone. If you have stick drift, meaning if the stick moves by itself, you can fix that by turning up the dead zone. The higher it is, the less sensitive you have to touch the stick to move your character. So if you don't have stick drift, put this down so that you can move as fast as possible. Invert Y axis, have it off. Vibration off. You don't want this to distract you when you're playing. Reload / interaction, have it on press to reload and interact. And now for the gameplay settings, quick cast on or off. This lets you decide if you want to hold or toggle to use abilities or gadgets, so just decide which one will be more comfortable for you. Auto pickup on. Language, your language obviously. Double press time 0.15. I believe this only applies for controller players, so if you don't play on controller, don't worry about it, but if you do, this is the amount of time in between pressing a button twice to pull something out. Quips and team comms, this is pretty much ping and the emotes and rogue voice lines. If you don't like teammates spamming them, you can turn these off. Display damage numbers in accumulative display on. You want to see how much damage you did to your enemies. In accumulative display just sums up the total of the damage so that you don't have to do the math. FPS, it's up to you. Personally, I want it on so that I can see my FPS. Crosshairs, I recommend using magenta or green, maybe yellow. The rest are too bright or dark to be seen on some occasions. The size of your crosshair is up to you, but I recommend having it simple and small so you can see where you're shooting at. Feel free to copy my crosshair or make up your own own. Just remember, the smaller it is, the better, so you can see where you're shooting. Now lastly, the binds. This part is mostly for controller players, but if you want to copy my bindings, it will be on the screen. I don't have any buttons on my mouse, so all of you keyboard and mouse players, you can use this bind, but if any of them doesn't suit you, feel free to switch it up. Now you non-paddle players are in luck. I'll be telling you guys the best settings for non-paddle controllers. For paddle users, I'll be telling you guys what you need to bind your paddles to. Most of the bindings will be the same except for a couple of them, and I'll be showing you the full bind on the screen just in case you get confused in the middle of it. This bind will be for non-paddle users, but you paddle users still need to watch this because the triggers, bumpers, and sticks will be the same for you. First is you want to have crouch on your right stick so that you can crouch spam and still aim when you're in a gunfight. And you want to have your dodge roll on your left stick so that you can dodge roll without having to move your thumbs off the stick. Switch shoulder on A for Xbox or X for PlayStation, and melee on B for Xbox or circle for PlayStation. Now this part will be confusing, so make sure to listen carefully or rewatch the video if you need to. First thing is optional, but I would recommend using this because it will make things faster and easier. First is switch your shooting and aiming down sights with right and left bumper for Xbox or L1 and R1 for PlayStation. Why switch it? This will make it so that when you start firing, the amount of time that it takes for it to shoot will be less time than the triggers because the gap between them is more than the bumpers. Long story short, you will shoot faster with bumpers than triggers. Now you want to bind your jump with the left trigger on Xbox or L2 on PlayStation, and you want to bind your gadget, which is your grenades and all that kind of stuff, bind it with the right trigger for Xbox or R2 for PlayStation. You want to bind your jump on the trigger because when you jump, you don't have to remove your thumbs off the sticks. This way you can still aim and jump at the same time, and this is really helpful for using melee. You want to bind your gadget on the trigger because we use this a lot, and if you do hold down the trigger to use the gadget, this will be useful since you can hold and aim at the same time. Everything else should be on default bind, but if you don't know if it's on default bind, it's okay. I'll show the full bind on the screen. So if you don't want to switch the triggers and bumpers, the settings will be the same but just switch. So trigger binds will go on the bumpers and bumper binds will go on to trigger. Now for paddle users, I'll be only telling you what you should bind your paddles to since your bind should be fairly similar to non-paddle users. So if you need to go back and rewatch the binds for paddle users, so feel free to go back and rewatch the binds for paddle users. I'll leave a timestamp on the screen. If you have 2 paddles on your controller, you want reload and your switch weapon there. If you have 4, you want reload, switch, melee, and switch shoulder. And when you're binding them, make sure that they are bind into either the D-pad, which is the cross on your controller, or the 4 buttons on the right so that you can still use the triggers, bumpers, and sticks. You can put the binds in any order, just make sure to prioritize reload and switch weapon, and the rest of your settings should be the same as the non-paddle users. And once again, feel free to rewatch the binds for non-paddle users. Anyway, now that we have finished, what you want to do next is just sit in the shooting range and just get used to it, practice, and develop your muscle memory. In my next video, I'll be telling you guys how to get better aim in Rouge Company. So if you don't want to miss it, and if this video helps you, make sure to like and subscribe and turn on those notifications. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace. Wake up again.